Two cars, both advanced for their time. Both were a gamble intended for new markets from well-established independent manufacturers. But each car led to the downfall of its parent company. Jowett's Javelin and the Roots Group's Imp. The Jowett Company was started in Bradford in 1901. Douglas Rawson, seen here with Susie, bought his 1952 Jowett Javelin second-hand in '56 for £600.
The reason I chose it is, it was quite magical in its ability to cover ground quickly without drama. It was quite exceptional in its sort of joie de vivre of driving in a spirited manner without getting into mischief.
The Jowett brothers began by building factory machinery for local mills. In 1906 they built their first car and soon got a reputation for solid, no-nonsense vehicles. In 1946, Jowett launched the Bradford van. Pre-war in its design, it was simple, noisy and slow, but a good earner for the company. It was followed by two all-new cars, the Javelin and the sporting Jupiter, intended for the US market. The man responsible for the radically new Javelin was Gerald Palmer, a young designer from Morris Motors. This photograph shows an early prototype. On the back, in Gerald's hand, it reads, "Plans are going ahead to make this in thousands." He was right, and in 1947 the Javelin went on sale with the slogan, "Take a good look as it passes you."
The production line was quite unique. In fact, the Javelin was the only car in the world to be built upside down. Of course, when it got to the end of the production line and turned over, there was a surplus, nuts and bolts fell off and a bit of a rattle. But the wheels went on and it went out of the door.
Compared to other cars of the day, it gave a sure-footed ride due to its independent front suspension and low flat-four engine. For Douglas, visiting his family on a 1,000-mile round trip from Dounreay to Leeds, that was important.
It made light of a long journey, and there weren't many cars could do that. You had to steer them, you had to anticipate bad cambers. This was a car you could throw about with pleasure and safety, I should say.
The Javelin had been honed on Jowett's local proving ground, the Yorkshire Dales, test-driven by Phil Green.
Our 200-mile route started from the factory through Otley, came up this road here over to Blubberhouses, over to Pateley Bridge and up Wharfdale, then on the A1, a fast belt on the dual carriageway. By the time a car had done that for 12 weeks non-stop, you knew you'd got a motor car.
But as well as being tough enough to cope with the Dales, even in the worst of weather, the Jowett looked good. It was one of the first British cars to have the American streamlined look instead of separate lights and wings. It was also very aerodynamic, even though it had never been near a wind tunnel.
There's a particularly interesting taper in at the back here to not cause too much turbulence at the rear. For instance, one never needed a rear wiper. It simply didn't get clatted up in the Yorkshire expression. The boot's deceptively large. With a rather clever hinge, it doesn't trap your luggage as it shuts.
And so that the boot didn't get clatted up, the spare wheel was kept in a tray under the floor.
Put your wheelbase on here and simply wind it down. And it comes out here, as they say. One clean spare wheel. It's been there, I suppose, 2 or 3 years. I once had a front wheel flat at 50 miles an hour, which might have been alarming. In fact, I came to rest without any drama at all, to my surprise. And I subsequently learned that was to be expected.
But the low flat 4 engine was lost under the streamlined nose, and to get at it required some unconventional answers.
How awful. How on earth do you do anything under there? Well, this is how you do it. You look under there, or better still, you undo these little screws if you're going to do anything serious. And then, 2 cylinders, 2 cylinders. Horizontally opposed flat 4. Everything's extremely easy to get at, except the back 2 plugs, which are a little bit dirty, but you can reach them down there. It was Yorkshire in that people expected it to be treated badly, to be treated hard. If you stood in it, for instance, you don't do that on modern bumpers, you know. These were the usual instruments of the day. You've got oil pressure, water temperature, fuel, of course, and the amps. You needed to know how many amps you were charging. The clutch is of the feather light variety. I think I can press it down with my fingers. No, just too easy.
But it wasn't that easy for Jowett. At £1,100 new, the Javelin was an expensive car. To reduce costs, its gearbox production was moved from precision engineers in the Midlands to the home factories in Bradford. But quality suffered. Jowett couldn't produce enough gearboxes. Cars waiting for gearboxes began to stockpile, and sales slumped. As a small independent manufacturer, Jowett didn't have the resources to survive, and in 1953 stopped production. Unlike Jowett, the Roots Group was one of the biggest independent manufacturers in the country. Humber was their flagship.
Well, it's a 1952 Super Snipe Mark III. Bought it in 1956. If I'd been married then, I probably wouldn't have had it.